Good morning, everyone. I am Specialist Blake. Today, our individual training is how to identify terrain features on the military map. So, our task today is to identify terrain features on a military map, terrain features being the 5 major, 3 minors, and 2 supplementary terrain features. Our overall risk assessment for this class is low. We are in an indoor classroom environment. There isn't too many hazards. We did have everyone police call prior to the class starting. So just to be mindful of any tripping hazards, any cords that might not have been secured coming from the outlets or the computers. Please be mindful of that. We don't want anyone tripping and hurting themselves in the classroom. As well as I'd like everyone to just keep drinking water. Make sure you're hydrating. We are in South Florida. It does get a bit humid. I know we're in an air-conditioned classroom, but however, we should continue to hydrate, drink water at all times. So for today's class, our condition. You are a member of a squad or team in a field environment and have been directed to identify the terrain features on a military map. You have been given a 1 to 50,000 scale military map. Standards. Our standards today is to identify the 5 major, 3 minor, and the 2 supplementary terrain features on a military map. Now, at this time, I am going to just demonstrate quickly how I go about finding these terrain features, that being the 5 major, 3 minor, and 2 supplementary terrain features. I am not instructing, I'm just demonstrating, so please hold all questions till the end of the class. And everyone will get a chance today to practice how to find these terrain features, as well as we'll be testing on or assessing everyone, a final assessment, which will give everyone a go or a no-go, and making sure that you are proficiently trained on this task today. So now I will go ahead and demonstrate. Okay, now that I have demonstrated how to identify these terrain features, I'm gonna go more in depth into instructing you guys on how to look at your map and be able to identify them as well. Okay, so we are going to be looking at first the 5 major terrain features. These terrain features are the hill, valley, ridge, saddle, and depression. Now, a little thing that I used to help me to remember these, just a little saying, hidden, valley, salad, ranch dressing. So then it will be a hill, of course, valley, saddle, ridge, and depression. So those are the 5 major terrain features. Now, before we go into it, I'd like to explain basically what a ridgeline is, which is just a basic terrain feature, which is not interchangeable with the word ridge. Ridge we are going to get into as the class progresses, so don't get these two confused, ridgeline and ridge. Now, simply put, a ridge is a line of high ground, usually with a change in elevation along the top. So along the top, especially of a mountain, with the change in elevations, you see a ridge forming. Now, keep in mind, all terrain features are derived from a landmass, a complex landmass known as a mountain, basically. Now, the first major terrain feature we're going to be identifying on our map is the hill. Now, before the class started, I provided everyone with a military map, as well as a handout with all the terrain features and what they would look like on the map. So as I go through each one, please follow me using your handout and your maps as well. So as I said, the first one is going to be a hill. Now, a hill is a high point or a small area of high ground. When you're on a hilltop, the ground slopes down in all directions. So looking at your handout, here we have a picture depicted of a hill. A hill is shown on a map by contour lines forming concentric circles. So if you look, you're gonna see it's almost like a coil of circles going around. That's how it would look on a military map. So if you look on the inside of that circle, the smallest circle represents the hilltop, the top of the hill. As it keeps going outward, the circles get larger, and that represents the bottom of the hill. So that kind of helps you to know the features of how it would look on the military map. Now our second major terrain feature would be a valley. So a valley is a stretched out groove in the land, usually formed by streams of river. So looking at your handout, looking at your map, you're going to see contour lines. So we're going to identify everything based on contour lines. Contour lines forming a valley are either U or V-shaped. So look for that as well. So now, to determine the direction water is flowing, we look at the contour lines. So for the valley, if the U or V contour lines points upstream, that usually, the contour lines pointing up usually shows the flow of water, and is basically pointing towards higher ground. So that helps us to depict what a valley is. Now a ridge, which is a sloping line or high ground. So the third one is a ridge, sloping line or high ground. So look at your handouts, look at your map. We see the contour lines forming a ridge are also U and V shaped. The closed end of the contour line. So look at the closed end of the contour line, and it points away from high ground. So away from high ground, look at the contour lines, the closed end U or V shape pointing away from high ground, and that helps you to identify what a ridge is. Now the next one is going to be a saddle. Now a saddle is a dip or low point between two areas of high ground. So a dip or a low point between two areas of higher ground. Now look here how I would say to be able to depict what a saddle is on a military map. The contour lines are kind of shaped like an hourglass. So if you look on your map and you see contour lines kind of shaping like an hourglass, that's how you would be able to identify what a saddle looks like. And now our final major terrain feature would be a depression. So a depression is a low point in the ground. A low point is basically a sinkhole within the ground. Depressions can be natural or man-made as well. Okay, so we look on our map. The depression are represented by close contour lines that have tick marks. So look out for those tick marks. Closed contour lines, they look like tick marks. And these are pointing toward low ground. So if you look on your map, you see tick lines going downwards, pointing towards low ground. Usually that's depicting a depression. Could be a sinkhole, anything, meteorite, something as well. All right, so now let's go into the three minor terrain features, which are draw, spur, and a cliff. So the first one we're going to be looking at for the three minor terrain features is a draw. Now a draw is similar to a valley. The ground slopes upward on each side and towards the head of the draw. So looking at your map, looking at the draw, Again, we identify them based on contour lines. So if you see contour lines that are depicting a draw, which is U and V shaped, it's pointing upwards towards higher ground, So if you see, it's, as you said, it's similar to a valley, and the contour lines are pointing upwards towards high ground. Our next one is a spur. A spur is a usually short, continuously sloping line of higher ground. Now follow me on your map and seeing the pictures on your handout, we'll see the spur, the ground sloped inward 3 directions and up in 1 direction. So it's sloped up, sloped down in 3 directions and up in 1 direction, depicting a spur. So the contour lines on a map, they depict a spur, U or V shaped as well, and the contour lines are pointing away from high ground. So that is how you detect a spur. The final minor terrain feature is a cliff. Now a cliff basically is a vertical or near vertical slope, basically, just going down. So looking at your handout and your map, so a cliff, we can identify it as contour lines. They are very close together, and in some instances, they're even touching each other. So we look at the tick marks, very close together, and they are pointing towards a vertical slope going down, basically. So those are the 3 minor terrain features: draw, spur, and a cliff. Now let's go into the 2 supplementary terrain features. The 2 supplementary are a cut and fill, and keep in mind that these are man-made terrain features. So the first one we'll be looking at is the cut. Now a cut is a man-made feature resulting from cutting through raised ground, and usually they do this to form a bed or a railroad. Now looking at your map, we see a cut. The contour line extends the length of the cut and has tick marks so look at those tick marks again. That's how we're going to be able to identify this. So it's extending the length of the cut itself, the tick marks, and that from that cut line to the roadbed. So from the line of the cut to the roadbed, that's how far those tick marks will go, and that will help you able to identify a cut. Now the next one is a fill. A fill is a man-made feature, as I said before, resulting from filling a low area. Fills are usually shown on a map if they're like 10 feet high. So that's how you'll be able to depict a fill. Now for a fill, looking at the contour line, the contour lines extends the length of the filled area and has tick marks that point toward lower ground. Now if your map, if the scale of your map permits, you'll be able to see the full length of those tick marks as shown here, that extends the base of the fill, basically. So look for those tick marks, and they show you they're kind of coming inwards a little bit, showing how they basically fill that low area. So that's how you'll be able to depict between those 2 supplementary features. So at this time, now that we went over how to identify the 5 major, 3 minor, and 2 supplementary terrain features on a military map, I'm going to have you guys practice finding those terrain features. Now, during the practical exercise, you will be able to look at your map, by using the contour lines, looking at the contour lines, being able to depict all the terrain features that that is there on your military map. So I'm gonna give everyone, let's say 15 to 20 minutes to get the practice in. I'll be walking around. I'll be assessing everyone. You can ask me as many questions as you want. I'll be making corrections so that when we do go into our final assessment, everyone is now well prepared in finding these terrain features. So as I said, 15 to 20 minutes, I'll be walking around asking. You can ask me as many questions as you like, and then we can move on from there. So time starts now, 15 to 20. All right, time's up. So I basically, we've now completed the practical exercises. I've made my necessary corrections. You guys asked me as many questions as you wanted. And now we're gonna go into our final assessment. Now for this assessment, everyone will be given a go or no go. So we're gonna, on your sheet that was provided, there we have all 10 terrain features. Now you should be able to identify every single terrain feature using the knowledge that was provided earlier. So you're going to look at your map, look at all the terrain features, and identify each one of them. So you must be able to get all 10 correct to receive a go. If there's anyone, say you missed a few or one or two, you will receive a no-go. However, I will retrain anyone that's received a no-go, and then you'll do another practical exercise, and then we will do another assessment later on. So don't worry. So everyone will be getting around 20 minutes. You have everything that you need. You have your map, you have your pens, everything that you needed to do this assessment. I'm going to give everyone 20 minutes, and then I'm going to collect them and grade the results, and then we'll see who gets a no or a no-go. So 20 minutes, start now. Okay, time's up. We've collected all the assessment paperwork, and so far everyone is a go. Everyone was able to identify all the terrain features on the military map, which is awesome. Everyone is now proficient in performing this task. We're going to report these numbers to our chain of command. Everyone is going to get a T for being trained and being proficient in finding these terrain features on a military map. Now, at this time, we need everyone to turn in all the training materials that were provided at the beginning of this class. I need to in a proper form, please, on this table right here, line up all the maps and the handouts that were given, and let's go ahead and close out the training site. Now that all is done, let's do just a quick police call. Make sure there's no papers on the floor. There's the chairs are placed within the desk. There's none out of line, and we'll go into a quick AAR for this class. Now, for AAR, our task today was to identify the terrain features on a military map. So we have our 5 major, 3 minor, and 2 supplementary terrain features. So what happened? Everyone was trained in finding these terrain features. we got enough practice, we did a final assessment, everyone was a go, and everyone is now proficient in finding these terrain features. So is anyone here like to give any sustains, anything that you really loved about the class, information that you have retained, and how you will go forward using it in your military career? Any improvements, anything that I could have done better, or you would like to see in any other classes? Okay. Any questions at all on this block of instructions? Anyone has anything they would like to clarify, or anything to add to this? Okay. Alrighty. So before we said our risk assessment was low, there wasn't too many hazards. We did do a police call at the start of the block of instructions, and here at the final. Is there anything that I might have missed that we could possibly use for future classes, just to make the environment more safe? Anything at all that I might have missed? And did any of these conditions help, or was anyone hurt, or did anything happen that we might need to report on for our next class? Okay, great. As I said, everything is as it was before. We identified all the terrain features. I explained how to identify them on your military map. We did a review, and then we did an assessment, and everyone is a go. This now ends the class and ends this block of instructions. I am now closing out my training site. Thank you.